Charlotte sports fans, great to see you, and welcome to this week's episode of the Midweek Meltdown, a show dedicated to pre and post game content for the Carolina Panthers as well as for the Charlotte Hornets. As always, I encourage you to hop in this conversation and let your opinion be heard, and to come and join the show. It's easy. I posted a link in the chat. I would like to thank John from Ink Tank, all my creator friends, and the online community. And of course, all of you for tuning in and spending your Wednesday evening with me. Please like and subscribe and get down in the comments below. Panther Pickle, how are we doing today, sir?
We're doing good, brother. How are you?
Oh, great. Oh, just a wonderful day. C3 Cole, how we doing, sir?
Mr. Kyle, what's going on, brother? Thank you for having us on.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we've got us a wonderful week one matchup. So let's hop right into it, fellas.
Kyle, you need to start over.
All right. So this week one matchup is crazy. Dirty Birds week one. Talk to me, Pickle.
Well, I tell you what, I believe that the Panthers can still pull this out, but the Burns issue really does torment me. If for some reason Burns doesn't play, it's going to be real hard. I liked some of the others we got. I'm not the biggest fan of YGM, but he's on the roster, and I feel that I should at least start the year off confident, and maybe he's getting better with new coaching. You know, I got to give the guys doubt first game of the season. And they were so vanilla in preseason that it kind of fit how he was last year. So,
Right.
I would like to think that he got a lot better. Plus, you have Barno out there in Houston and the other pass rushers.
Right.
All that being said, I still would think that they would figure this out now that Nick Bosa got his big fat paycheck.
Right.
Then it should make figuring Burns out a little more easier.
Right. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. And given the fact that Bosa hasn't even been in the building at all, and Brian has at least been through training camp, and he's been through all the workouts and all the video watching and everything you normally do, I don't see any reason why he doesn't play. But that's just my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And as we were alluding to in the previous show, it makes sense being that they have the same agent that, he got a call last night that was, hey, we're going to get this done in the morning. We're going to release some details. So you better get out there and get it done. 'Cause
Right.
We're real close, and that totally makes sense,
Yeah.
I can pull up this slide here.
Kyle, what you doing?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something right quick. Do you
Yes,
feel
sir.
better for Burns? Do you feel better for Burns' status on Sunday since he practiced in full pads today?
Absolutely, 100%. He's definitely going to
Same.
practice. 100%.
Pickle, you feel the same way, or you think it don't mean shit?
I'm not certain, to be honest. I would like to think it means a lot, but at the same time, if he plays and he don't have a contract, what does that tell Scott Fitterer? And that's who he's talking to. Let's make no mistake about it. He's talking to Scott Fitterer directly. So I would like to think that he plays even if he doesn't have a contract. That would make me feel better. But because even a half of Brian Burns is better than no Brian Burns.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
But if he plays, is that giving a good message or a bad message to Scott Fitter? That's just the question he has to ask. So
Yeah, that is definitely the question. How we doing, JJ?
Doing great, sir. I am happy to finally join the show. I've been looking forward to this. I'm glad to be
Same.
part.
Awesome. Yes, I'm glad to have both you guys on, as well as Pickle always. Uh, yeah, so like this week one matchup is obviously the Brian Burns contract is like right in front of us, but not really that in too far into the peripheral vision. We're looking at Atlanta, that's less than
mhm.
8 days away, and we're here we are, and we could have very easily. I mean, if we're going to be honest with ourselves as Panther fans, we could have very easily swept them last year. You
Yes.
know,
Absolutely.
so to that effect, they got better, but so did we, and I think we got better more, if that makes sense, in more areas. So I look at this as I'm not going to take them light, but I feel like we have a really good chance to win this game.
If we're able to stop their run game, I think for sure. If we can make them fall back um, to Plan B, something they're way less comfortable with,
Right.
and that's putting Desmond Ritter in a position to win them the game by throwing because they're constantly down on the scoreboard, not in a win and kill the clock mentality like they want to be running the ball, then for
Right.
sure. I think that's our best strategy at winning this game.
JJ, I'm right there with you. And most of the time with the Panthers, we get those answers really early. There's no in between with our run defense. Either we are on or we are shit. And that's usually how it is. Sometimes that concerns me. I hope they just show up and do the right thing on Sunday and play with that Panther passion and intensity that they're supposed to.
Hold on, let me tag on to what you just said real quick. I could perfectly relate to exactly what you said.
Yep.
Perfectly when I went to that Cincinnati Bengals game. And the very first run for Joe Mixon went for like 15 yards. I was like, oh,
You
it's
knew it was
one
going
of
to be a long
those.
day.
I was like, oh, it's one of those. And that ass. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like,
How we doing,
oh,
D's?
it is one of those. Come on.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm hoping that that with new coaching and some veteran players like Houston, I'm hoping and Shy Tuttle, I'm hoping they add some benefits that we didn't have last year. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping they add some leadership and the ability to figure out a scheme generated. They have gotten better, but let's be real, they also showed quite a bit in the preseason, and we didn't. So
Right.
that's
They
that.
have showed the entire league that they are going
Yeah.
to be a
So
run
you
heavy
know
team.
what they're planning to do. You absolutely know that, and I like to think that we can come out prepared for what they throw at us.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, uh, I did listen to Joe Person say on WFNZ today that he was told by a couple defensive coordinators in the league that they highly expect the Panthers to get a lot of press man coverage this year. A lot
Yes,
of press man
I
coverage.
was gonna actually
You can do that
up
shit with
off
Horn.
that.
Yep.
Exactly. I was
Yeah.
gonna
Yep.
say, honestly, I think this game will tell. If we should leave this game with a pick. All right, we should
Yeah.
leave this game with an interception at least.
Just
If
one,
we
JJ?
also, that's what I'm saying.
At
At
least.
least
I
one,
want
bro. If we
two.
don't force,
Makes
I
sense.
exactly. I know I want two, but I say at least one for a reason. Because if we don't get at least one, that's a cause of concern. We have ball hawks in that secondary. We got Horn, who got three last year. Dante had two last year, only in 9 games, and we know he can get more than that. He's shown that before. Von Bell had a career high with 4 last year. You know, um, we know Xavier Woods. He had bricks for hands last year and dropped plenty. Maybe he can come up with one or two this year. we got players that can be in the right place at the right time to make plays. And it just feels like the turnovers, we just haven't had them really. Like I really hope this secondary can be an opportunistic unit and cause turnovers back there.
Right on. I agree with that, JJ. How we doing, Chuck? Evan? Guys?
Doing good, man. Excited for football's here. Fantasy
Yes, sir.
team logged up, everything else. Waiting for this matchup.
Yes, sir.
Chuck, you took Herbert when I wanted him.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
I think he's going to have a big year.
I do like Herbert in fantasy.
Kyle,
Got
let me
to.
go off topic for 5 seconds. I gotta ask my boy Skills a question. Deeds,
Heard.
did you cut your hair? Did you cut your hair, bro? Or you just got it back right now? I was about to say I didn't know if you went through some kind of crisis or something, right quick, brother.
Nah, long hair, don't care, brother.
That's right.
And
I'm with
what
you,
I do
goddamn
care about is
wavy
that what I do care about is that defensive line of the Carolina Panthers. Is it Brian LeBray? I believe Pickle is our backup end on both sides on both sides, left and right. I don't like us going into Atlanta with that. That's our only spell at the defensive end position. How do you guys feel about that? And do you feel like that makes us susceptible to the run, which is what I'm worried about because he's a younger player, is he not?
Right. What? Let me add real quick. Remember, now you can actually activate, or you still can, like you have. You can activate a few folks off the practice squad if you need to. And we do have Raekwon Williams on the practice squad. We have Taylor Stallworth on the practice squad, and those are 2 defensive linemen. Just saying, though. So I don't know that they'll do that, but we do have 2 open roster spots. Remember, and
we do, don't we?
And today they brought in a whole crap load of people. I mean, I think there's like 6 or 7 people they brought in.
They should have got Chris. They should have got Chris Wormley.
Yeah, well, they did sign a wide receiver to the practice squad, but I would highly doubt that they're done. So
No.
Bringing in people and looking, because I would imagine though too, they may want to see how we look, kind of like we are, or it's easy to pull up somebody from your practice squad. If they can do that, if they're planning to do that, they could just do that on Saturday night. That's not that big a deal,
I'd feel better about Raekwon Williams, like you said, than I would the Brian Ray. Did you see anything from Ray in the preseason, Pickle, that made you like that guy? Because I don't recall nothing.
I absolutely did not. I didn't see anything. And I mean, again, it goes back to what we don't know because they decided not to show us. But I just didn't see anything that makes me say, wow. I saw them use Corby Jones quite often as a rush linebacker. And they let him go, and he's not on the practice squad. He's just out there available right now to anybody to sign.
Wow.
So I don't have no answer for that. I know there's folks out there that I like as far as the D line. I would do some serious talk to signing Hicks. That's a guy I like quite a bit. But there's other guys out there that they could sign. But then, of course, if you sign a veteran player after week 1, you don't his guaranteed isn't guaranteed. So you can get him without guaranteeing him his salary, or guarantee him anything. So if you sign him on week 2, and then for whatever reason you cut him week 17, he gets paid just what he worked. You don't get paid the full contract. So I hope that's not the route they're going, but it could be.
Well, that's what's got me scared and got me concerned about it and asking you guys questions about it, because we're out of time. We started game planning today on Wednesday, which is why it was so good to see Burns out there. And we'll continue to game plan tomorrow, which will be Thursday. and Friday. I guess Saturday will just be a travel day. They
Right.
won't do any more work, so they'll finish up Friday for the Sunday.
And that'll be a light practice on Friday, probably.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be a walkthrough. That's all they've been doing is walkthroughs. But that's
So
why
the
I'm
last
concerned
real work
because
you could get in is tomorrow. You're right, Skills.
there ain't no time. There ain't no time to bring in no defensive tackle as a rotational
No.
player or a defensive end as a rotational player. So I don't really understand what the game plan is there. I guess Tuttle and Brown and Williams is playing the whole game, and Williams was out today. He wouldn't in practice, so it's just got me concerned. Just wanted to hear your thoughts.
He was on the injury report.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. Let me look. See
What do
it
you all
was.
think the game plan is in general? Either side of the ball.
Yes,
y'all
I
wanna
can
answer?
Stop the run.
I can answer you,
Yeah,
JJ, for
stop
that.
Bijan.
Let Desmond Ridder beat us. If he happens to be the next Patrick Mahomes, go for it. Go for it. But I'm betting all my money that he's not. Let him pass. Let him. If he beats us with his arm, you got it. You got it. Do not let Cordell Patterson, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Aguilar beat us. Derek Brown, if he plays well, he plays good, we win the game.
Right.
That's simple as that. If
At
Bryce
least
Young,
my next
Yeah.
question. What should the game plan be on the other side of the ball in offense?
continue drives, convert
keep it
third
simple.
downs.
Get Bryce in a rhythm.
Yep. By keeping it simple.
Joe Person said on WFNZ today that from what he was told by defensive coordinators all from other teams in the league. Well, he called it other defensive coordinators in the league. He said that that the Panthers offense will face a lot of press man coverage because they know that most of the receivers combined with their offensive will run short routes. And with the combination of the inconsistent Panthers offensive line, many teams will likely try to send a blitzer straight up the middle to get to Bryce, where that way that gets in his line of sight. But surely the Panthers got to know and expect this. So there's a reason, there's a reason they signed Amir Smith-Marset, a guy who can take a short pack all the way. There's a reason why they got their running back, who's also real good at catching short passes. I believe they can scheme against this, but if our defensive line can't hold Atlanta, then it's going to make Bryce and him a long day to scheme every single drive and catch up. I don't want to be at least not in the first game. May give us a couple games, 3 or 4 games, and maybe we can get our feet under us and start doing some deep passes. But I really wouldn't want to do that straight out of the bat.
The name of the game is before the bye. Is there 6 games before the bye, right? Am I correct?
Yep.
They must
Here,
stay
you want
at
me to
least.
name all of them?
Gotta go 500.
They have to go. Look, I'll even go for 2 and 4.
It's the hardest stretch of the season, by the way.
If they go,
that's why I said 500.
If they go 3 and 3, that's a win because they can. Yes.
Yeah.
You have to split the first 2 games. If you win in Atlanta and lose Monday, fine, cool. But if they lose this weekend,
I'm gonna go ahead and win Monday. Win Monday. If you win Sunday, that takes a little less pressure off the home opener.
Yes, Monday's
we mess
Monday's
around
free
and
game.
lose to Atlanta. I'm not gonna say must win, but that turns up everything for week 2.
Nah, that's damn near a must win because
flirting with it.
3 of the next 4 are on the road. It goes.
Yeah, now if you want to look at it like that, with shit coming behind it, yeah, that's a must
because
win.
I can win the first 2 games and lose 3 straight. I'm like, all right, at least we got 2 division wins.
Week 3, we play Seattle. We're at home. Week 4 versus the Vikings, and then we play the Lions and the Dolphins both on the road. Then the bye week.
So these first 2 games are must wins. These first 2 games are like
realistically they are. These two first games we have to win both of these games.
Is that like the season gets here and all of a sudden it's like, damn, the Vikings don't even seem like a free win no more. Like
no, they're not.
Anyone who did was tripping, but still,
this This is
And
a valuation. I'm sorry. This is a valuation season for the 32 teams. You
Right.
don't think those 32 teams saw the draft? There are 5 quarterbacks in this draft that can be drafted.
Yep.
You don't think Kirk Cousins looking on his shoulder? They're talking about drafting. You don't think Raiders are thinking Bucks, Dolphins if Tua doesn't stay healthy?
The Lions are.
The
Lions
Lions
are. They
Keep
could
right
get
on
out of
going.
Golf's contract at the end of this year or the night next year. They can get out of Golf's contract and actually save 10, 15 million. So they're right on par to drop that. But also at the same time, if you look at a lot of those, it's also for certain folks. Kansas City's tomorrow's facing the Lions, and they very well could be without their tight end.
No
So,
Kelsey.
you know, the right now, who was it? The Rams are without Cooper Cup,
I had to bench him. I'm not happy.
and
Yo, Cole.
even the
like-
49ers are having some issues with Kittle. They don't know that he's playing or not. He looks like he is right now, but that's barely.
and
But
then have you
the
seen that
injuries
cap
going
space?
around.
Have you seen the
Yes.
cap space for the 49ers for next year?
Yes,
It's not good.
yes.
Can't
It's
be
not good at all. And so you got to look and understand they can't keep everybody, but they know that already. So,
They're trying
don't
to
be
make a run
surprised
now,
for them
then-
to be active come the trade deadline.
Yeah.
They'll be wanting to get draft picks because to them, draft picks with their bad cap would be easier to stomach than a free agent signing,
Yeah.
even if it's a draft pick not ready. Because you still got inactivations. That's one thing that I have to think about when I looked at our own issues on defensive line. We still have to inactivate people. So you can take your roster depth chart and you can start picking out who guys you're going to deactivate and who you're going to activate. That is what you're going to have to do, and that's what the team has to do. So not
That's what it
everybody's
takes
playing.
to be great.
Literally.
So folks got to play two ways. We've got some injuries on the wide receiver front too, and
Yeah.
we are. Although
Garbage.
I really don't think a lot of them are quality wide injuries. I remember reading some last year, and I remember hearing some folks on the chat. They were talking about injuries in preseason. They says in regular season, a lot of injuries. If a wide receiver comes in and he's not really limping, but he's complaining because his legs are hurting, maybe he slept wrong or something that night, they're going to tell him to ice up and don't play, or don't practice, or you're limited practice. Then they're going to put him on injury report. There may not be nothing wrong with him, but they're going to put it on there just in case.
It's
Plus,
a long
it throws
season.
the other
It's
team
a long
into
season.
Yeah, and it throws the other team off kilter because they don't know how to prepare. You think we got right now? The Atlanta Falcons don't know who our defensive end is going to be. They don't know whether Burns is playing or not. They don't know whether to prepare for him or not. They don't really know what system we're running. They don't know more than they know as much as we do. And right now, they're not happy about it. They can't
No.
prepare their guys to run something they don't know what they're facing. So
Yeah.
they don't know what kind
Mike
of
was
offense they're
smart.
running.
He
Yeah,
was smart
but-
when he did what he did, but
Yep.
he sucks.
If it works.
sitting here watching and waiting.
If it works.
if it works, you're right.
If it works.
Kyle, this sounds far fetched, but what if not Brian Burns, but what if the Panthers were playing possum with the Falcons and not signing Burns till late Saturday night, with a full intention of him playing on Sunday anyway? Just to
Ah.
mess with them. That would be hilarious.
It would be funny, but I don't know that it would mess with their game plan at
No.
all.
No, they need to be prepared like he's playing.
Yeah, they would definitely be prepared. Like he's going to show up and destroy their world, like they already know in the back of their mind that he's going to do.
So who do we expect a bigger performance from, Derek Brown or J.C. Horn?
I'm glad
Derek
you didn't
Brown.
say
Derek
Burns.
Brown.
I'm glad you didn't say Burns, because if Burns plays, he's gonna go freaking crazy. But I think
Derek
you did
Brown.
say
Oh, yeah.
Derek Brown.
Derek Brown.
Derek Brown has to. And I mean that's
Yeah.
I do believe Derek Brown's going to be a breakout player this year, because
Me too.
Derek right now,
He better
no
be.
Burns is going to get the money. That's what he's looking at. Right now, Burns is looking at Chris Jones, and he's eyeballing that situation real close. He wants to see how much he's going to get. Derek Brown also knows that if he wants to be known and paid, as people want to call it now, a respectable amount of money, he's going to have to put sacks on the field. He's going to have to
Mhm.
stop running in the back. Right now,
True.
Derek Brown's looking for a paycheck, and he's got to bust heads to get it. He knows it.
Yeah, Derek Brown's is low key in the contract year. Low key.
And he's definitely got to
Mhm.
prove it week 1 because he's gonna have to set the tone for the defensive line. Okay.
Oh,
against
yeah, if he
our-
has a bad
I'm
game,
gonna
we
need him
lose.
to be legit.
If
I
we have a
think a
bad game, we
motivated-
lose.
I think a motivated Derek Brown is very dangerous. That's just me.
Yes.
personally.
Yes.
I
I'm
agree
gonna
with
need
that.
him to play at a Jeffrey Simmons like level this year. All right,
Yeah,
I know
I mean-
maybe not a few of y'all know who he is, but he puts up around 7 to 8.5 sacks a year. Great run stuffer. He's basically just a little bit better version of Derek Brown,
Right.
But
Who is it? What's his name?
Jeffrey Simmons,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'd like to know
Times
Simmons.
when I don't know who he is.
yeah,
I'd
he's
like
a
to know
really
Simmons'
really good
pressure
player.
numbers. Did Simmons have 40 or more pressures last season, JJ? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, I don't know his pressure numbers off the top of my head. I think he might have also missed time last season as well, but
Right on.
he's been a constantly really good pass rusher from the interior. And like
Yeah.
2 seasons ago in 2021 was his best year. He was a monster that year.
Yeah, he had in 21 he had 8.5 sacks and 42
Nice.
tackles. With tackles for loss he had 12. Quarterback hits he had 16.
Holy hell.
He even had
Yeah.
16. He had 6 pass defenses. Damn.
Wow.
Okay.
Pickle, that's a
Last
hell
year-
of a lot of
last year-
sacks from the interior.
Yeah,
That's a
last
lot of
year
sacks
wasn't real
from
bad
the
either.
Right.
Cause last year he had 25 tackles. Here's the catch. As far as snaps in 21, he had 85% of the snaps. In 22, he had 74.1% of the snaps. Yeah, he probably was injured last year, son, JJ. But then he
Yeah.
he still had 7.5 sacks. That's
Right.
just one
He's a
more
dog,
sack
though.
less. Yeah. He had 9 tackles for losses, 14 quarterback hits, and 7 pass defenses. He even had a forced fumble last year. So,
Do you think I know that I do bet some a little bit. Do you think first
Hey,
team
here
with 3
we go.
touchdowns wins the game?
First touchdown wins the game.
No, first 3 touchdowns. Like the first one who gets to 21 wins the game, pretty much.
All right. So
Don't
we got
play
us a
Take
Falcons fan in here, fellers. So let's switch up this background and
Birds.
get us
Do you
in
know
here.
that-
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Do you
Dirty
know
Birds,
this Falcons
40.
fan?
Hey, what's up, man?
Good. How we doing?
what's up, man?
Good.
How
You know, I
feeling
think
this
it's gonna be
Sunday?
a good game.
Yeah.
What y'all gonna do?
Hey, I think our offense is gonna be pretty good this year. We got some good running backs.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
do
You
got
guys
some good
do have a duo that is very, very prolific. I can't even disagree with that.
We just don't have receivers, so I mean,
What?
we got one.
Okay.
You
got
got
one.
one.
got
You got
London
Drake London and Kyle
Pitts.
Pitts. They're still pretty
Yeah.
happy.
He's-
I mean, Kyle Pitts is. I consider him a tight end, but he can, do receivers too.
You got the ability of a receiver.
He's
Yeah.
still a really good receiving option, at least.
Yeah.
Last year, I know he didn't do as good as he did his rookie year, but
Yeah.
that's probably mostly because I think he was a little bit more injured last year.
And he
Patterson is all around too, so
Right. But I think it's going to be a good game, but I don't think you guys improved as much as we did over the offseason. I think you guys are going to have a really hard time because if we're able to stop the run, Desmond Ridder has to beat us, and I don't think that he has the capability.
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, our defense improved vastly too.
Yes.
So I mean, our secondary, I think Jesse Bates is a beast back there at safety.
He definitely is. I will give
It's a
you
big
all the
time
credit for
addition.
that.
I got a little more respect on y'all secondary. I know
Mhm.
Cody Lack. I don't know if you know him, but he doesn't really have faith in it, and that's surprising considering AJ Terrell is a
AJ
Clemson
Terrell's
player.
a really good player.
Really good player.
Exactly, he's a
If
dog.
Yeah,
And
it's
if
just they
if
need a
if
quarterback across from him.
Akuda, if he can stay healthy.
Oh yeah, true,
Yeah.
true that. I completely forgot
Just
you guys
pick it up
traded for him.
Yeah.
So
It's a division game. We can sit here and act like we know what's going to happen, but it is a damn division game at the end of the
I,
day. You can say
that's
that
Hey,
across the league. The top team against the worst team can always, and we're right there, always neck and neck with Atlanta, and anything can
oh,
damn
yeah.
happen.
I was gonna
and
say.
that
Don't be surprised if it's a repeat of last year in Atlanta.
Which game?
The one
Well,
we
in
should have
terms of
won.
it being a shootout,
Thanks,
maybe
DJ.
we win, but in terms of it being a shootout, don't be surprised if it's like last year.
Yeah. I think it'll
I'm
be
be
back and forth.
yeah, it's gonna be back and forth. I'm gonna be right back, but I like the pickup of Bud Dupree too.
Yeah, that's another good signing you guys had.
So, I
I
like
like all
Bryce
these
Young
names you're
too.
calling out, bro. I ain't even gonna lie.
Bryce Young is a beast if he can do it in his first game. You know.
Yep. I think Bryce will be all right.
He's
Yeah.
not gonna be the
The
problem.
thing, as I live in Tennessee, and Bud Dupree signed with the Titans a few years ago, and they had high hopes, and he really wasn't working out for them. So,
What
and
happened?
then I know,
Like, what was his deal, Pickle?
he just stayed injured. To be
He
honest,
stopped playing
Is that
with
what happened
TJ
in
Watt and
Pittsburgh?
Cameron
yeah, he
What
Hayward.
stayed
happened
injured.
there?
Yeah, he stayed injured, and he just wasn't. The injuries he's had over his career has caught up with him, and he's just not as quick off the line as he used to be.
It's a damn
And I
shame.
mean, I'm not being disrespectful at all. But when I see Bud Dupree right now, that's who I see. I don't see the Steelers Bud Dupree.
Yeah.
I see the guy the Steelers cut, and the guy the Titans signed, and the guy the Titans cut. That's who I see.
Sounds like
And I'll see that until I see resemblance of the old guy. Because I remember Bud Dupree when he was with the Steelers, and he was a badass. But
You're right.
the Bud Dupree that I've seen for the Titans is not the is not the Bud Dupree that I'm used to seeing.
From
And
his contract year
very
with the
quick
Chiefs.
Pickle.
Exactly.
It's probably a bad comparison, but it sounds like you just said the same exact story about Deion Jones and what we just did. But I mean, he's not who he
I
was.
think you're correct. I
You're
think you're
not,
very
you're
correct.
not wrong.
The part of the Deion Jones, and hey, I didn't catch on to this till I actually heard it talked on the radio, and then I went on myself to research Deion Jones just so I can tell the guy off online because I was going to prove him wrong, and he proved me right. He proved himself right, proved me wrong. That Deion Jones, when lined up in a preseason game, and the runner was running straight at him, he would move to the right or the left.
Yeah,
Then he would
gotta
look at the
square him up.
coaches, and he knew that he had that, but it was preseason, and he wasn't going to get himself hurt in a preseason game. So
Right.
you're the coaches, and if you see that for a little while, you
Man,
have to
like
ask
that
your
shit.
coaches. If you're a coach, you have to ask yourself, okay, he's avoiding to hit so he don't get injured.
He ain't healthy.
What's that tell me?
Right.
If he plays week one and he actually lines up and tackles somebody, am I going to put him on IR the next week?
Right.
When I saw him, I didn't even know it was him. He's
So,
just a shell.
Yeah,
of
he's
himself.
not what he used to be.
You
At all.
thought it was Brian Burns wearing that 53 looking
No, I
garbage?
didn't think it was Burns. I thought it was a
No, it just-
no-name, just linebacker.
Yeah, it was just he looked
Deion
like
Jones used
he
to have
looked like a
veins
scrub.
busting out of his damn arms. He was
Yeah,
a
he did.
monster. He looked
Deion
slender.
Jones was
he
a
had the-
badass.
He
He
fell
was
off,
slender,
dude.
but he was a badass. I used to
No, I'm
steal
talking
him
about
off
now.
the
He's
Falcons.
slender. He's way
Yeah,
smaller
well,
now.
no,
I
I
don't know
used
what
to steal
happened.
him. I used to steal him off the Falcons all the time.
He had that speed and hit power for your ass. That's why
Exactly.
you liked him.
Yep, you're right.
He
Oh.
was great in Madden.
Kyle, where you want to
We
go
honestly
next?
had a couple people doing that
Oh,
during the year or during the
so-
preseason.
You're right.
You look like you got something on your mind. Where you want to go?
Basically, so all I pulled up for this week was just Falcon stuff, and I find it interesting that we kind of base what we're gonna do this year off of last year. But let me remind you that none of the people that played those games last year are actually still like on this team.
Exactly.
So, like,
Right.
so it's gonna be a horribly different game, to say the least. And
Yeah, we don't
I'm
have DJ
optimistic,
Moore.
but well, yeah, he's not gonna be able to pull his helmet off.
Were
No
were
disrespect here.
JC or I know JC was healthy for the first one, but were JC or Dante in the second one against the
No.
Falcons last year? I don't think they were.
I don't think so.
Was it
JC was
neither?
because he got a pick. He got a pick on Mariota.
Jackson wasn't.
No, he was because that was the game he actually tore his Achilles.
Yeah, JC got a pick for 18 yards.
See, did y'all just hear everything you said? That's the exact problem with the damn Panthers right there. Did y'all just hear all the injuries and just time
Well,
off the field?
you're 100%
Yeah.
right.
We can't even
You're right.
remember who played because they stayed
yeah.
hurt. That's a problem.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people, Pat Coltrane was just on, and he made the analogy. He said the same people that made the same decisions last year are still here making decisions. Yeah, you can blame it on the head coach all day, but the same decisions that are being made this year was made last year, and I never quite thought of it that way, but Coltrane's right.
Yeah.
If you look at it, some of the same decisions, we're keeping the same guys that we disrespected and said need to be gone.
Yep.
Basically. And I mean, we don't have Michael Jordan, and Cam Murphy, but Scott Fitterer re-signed them to $1 million contract apiece and then turned around and cut them in preseason because they sucked. Why do you re-sign them? If it was a Matt Rule decision, why bring them back anyway? So, to me, in reality, and I've said it before, but I'm right back on that train, we should be asking ourselves, why not fire Scott Fitterer?
You talking about we
Slow down.
Are you talking about
Hold
we
up.
initially cleaned house? Are you
Slow down.
about that far or like now? Pickle. That's
We're
I'm
okay.
not right now. I'm not saying right now. I'm saying
should we have done it from the jump? Is that what you were saying? I'm just trying to figure out how you were coming across.
But that goes back farther than Scott Fitterer. I believe that if you fire your head coach, you fire your GM.
Okay.
That's just the way I've always believed. I remember seeing Marty Herney push John Fox out the door because it suited Marty Herney's draft first philosophy.
Absolutely.
And Marty Herney was 100% convinced it wasn't John Fox's off. It wasn't his drafting that kept screwing up. It was John Fox coaching. So he pushed John Fox. He convinced Jerry to get rid of John Fox and made John Fox a lame duck head coach on the middle. Though Marty hired him a new defensive coordinator / head coach, and he made the draft decisions until he was gone. Then they brought another general manager in that made all the draft decisions and the free agency decisions. And when then they fired anyway, but that goes back farther. I believe that most of the time, it's a two-way sword. If you cut one, you cut the other, simply because they've made decisions together. And and it's like what's going on now here. If some of the same things that we're complaining about right now are still happening. Now, if they say, well, okay, you want to wait and give Scott another year to see how it turns out, I respect that. But what I would do if I was boss, I would have fired Scott Fitterer right along with Matt Rule.
You got 24. You got 24 new players on the roster, on the 53-man roster from last year. So over half the roster is new. They are making changes, and you can sit back and say you can fire all the shots you want to with Scott Fitterer, man. But the fact is, they've changed over the roster. They flipped it. They did all that hard work. We just saw it. We just saw all that hard work in the releases and the cuts they just did. JJ, I know you're trying to get in. Go ahead, bud. My bad.
No. You're all fine. When it comes to Scott Fitterer, we can list all the bad ones. But I think to me, the one that irritates me the most is the one that we overlook. And it's got to be the 2021 draft and how we handled it. Trading for Sam Darnold like that month, and then sure enough, passing on we picked J.C. Horn over guys like Rashawn Slater, Pat Surtain, and Michael Parsons, who are all first-team All-Pros already in their short career. They've done that. And J.C. Horn has shown to be great at times, but yet to play 50% of the games 2 years into his career. So I think that's just something that, like, misevaluation in talent. Maybe you could say it's unlucky, but it's things like that that go a long way. Those are 3 franchise-changing players as well that could have impacted as well. The drafting has been cool in the first round, but it could be better, is what I'm saying. Like, it's
So
not
you're
like
saying like there's like one damning, trait that he's
the
got, you're
one
saying
thing.
that
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
that
The one
draft
thing he has to stand on.
next
You could look at that
after
and
the first
say,
round
you
draft.
know what? You haven't even been the best in that department either, for real. So you
Right.
know what? We should get you up out of here.
No,
So
that,
my
that,
my
that, go ahead.
so
That was
mine
usually
mine
the
is
biggest example.
my damning piece of evidence for Scott Fitter. I'm not calling for his job. I think he's been doing okay, and I mean I don't know of any general managers out there that are available, A, or B, want to come here, or C, could do a better job than he's done. But I will say that the one thing that is the absolute burn mark on his resume that I will never forgive him for is letting Hassan Reddick walk out this building.
I'm with
Like
that.
I
I was
I
And
angry.
will
Gilmore.
I was
never
angry,
ever forgive him for that. We had a pass rush like for the
especially the
first
way he
time in
played.
10 years. Like there was not one sports critic out there saying, "Where's Carolina's pass rush at?" Never.
The
Kyle,
I'll
one
never forget
the
that.
one thing I can say is if I remember correctly, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, when Scott Fitterer drafted J.C. Horn, was that his first draft as a
I
GM?
believe so.
Okay, that's what I thought, and I don't hold him totally accountable for that because he was a rookie general manager. Okay, now maybe I shouldn't
He
say
wasn't
that,
a rookie,
but
though, because he's been a GM before, right?
well, no, he wasn't. He was
He
an
wasn't?
assistant
Oh,
GM
yeah, that's right.
to
That's right.
he was an
No,
assistant.
you're right. You're right.
Okay, now
wait, he was an assistant in Seattle the whole time.
yeah, he
I
was.
I
thought
know,
he was a
right?
shot
I
caller
Yeah,
for
couldn't
yeah,
remember if
everything
that
during
was
yeah,
the
true or
yeah,
wow.
not.
now
I just learned some shit.
yeah, and the issue. So Matt Rule had a forcible. Um, you got to remember, Marty Herney was an experienced GM and can barely handle Matt Rule.
Marty.
And you throw Scott in there, and yeah, I mean, okay, if Scott hypothetically say Scott looks at that draft and he says, okay, here's a top 5 quarterback sitting in our lap. Here's a possible elite defensive lineman, Parsons or linebacker, whatever you want to call him, sitting in our lap. Hypothetically, he says that. Who do you think Scott Fitter, or you do you think David Tepper's going to turn to? David Tepper's already guaranteed Matt Rule control of the roster. So he tells Matt Rule. So Matt Rule makes the decision. You got to remember, Matt Rule wanted to draft C.J. Henderson in the first round instead of Derek Brown, but
Marty Herney.
Marty
Look at
Herney says
Marty.
you can't draft a corner in that early.
Yeah.
And the year before
Thank
that,
God, Marty.
Marty won. The year before that, Marty had an agreement to trade up with to swap picks with the Giants
I remember this.
just to get Justin Herbert. I mean, the agreement was already made between the two GMs. All they had to do was get the owner's approval, and well, the Giants owner approved it, but David Tepper didn't because Matt Rule said no. Matt Rule
Lord
said
have
he
mercy.
had 100% faith
I did not know that.
in
That is a true
he had
story. I just heard that the
100%
other
faith
day again.
Hmm.
in Teddy Bridgewater.
I already have
Don't
a
do it.
complete man crush on Justin Herbert. I could only
Yeah.
imagine if he was on my team.
Yeah, that's what I say. I mean, just hearing those little things like that, and then understanding Scott Fritter was first draft, and again the guarantee of the 5th-year option for Sam Darnold is kind of wrong for the NFL to do that, because by the time you have your draft, literally by when the draft is at the end of April,
Right.
by the 1st of June, by the 1st of May rather, by the 1st of May, you have to guarantee that you're taking that guy. So you're having your draft, and a few days later, you have to decide if you're picking up the 5th-year option on that quarterback
Yeah.
for the next year.
Pickle, you should be able
It's-
to do that up until the night before the first game. That's a stupid ass rule.
And I agree with you. But Scott Fitterer, being a new GM, he looked at it and he goes, well, they're all telling me that Sam Darnold's going to be great. I guess I'll pick up his 5th-year option. My coaches are all telling me he's going to be great, right?
Shit. Yeah.
So
I didn't
Right.
think about that.
But
Man,
you can't tell me they were serious during that draft because they took a long snapper in the 6th round. There was nothing
Wow.
serious about that at all, man. They were
Yeah.
BSing around. Matt Rule thought he had 4 more years to get it figured out,
Yeah,
and the way he explained it.
yeah, and
Yep.
and I 100% think that he had plans to cut J.J. Jansen. I
He
100%.
probably tried to, for sure.
And
just 'cause he was a
he
Panther
found
at heart.
out after he made his little draft, his little long snapper, and they did training camp. He realized his long snapper that he drafted wasn't as good as they thought, and he didn't. And JJ was a bigger fan favorite than he anticipated, and he
JJ
couldn't
wasn't
fight
going
the fans.
nowhere.
So he had already cut all the. He had already Matt Rule had already shoved all the other fan favorites out. You already forced
Luke had left.
him out. You forced Golson out. You shut down Luke. Luke jumped ship. Whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody was gone, and that's when they signed CMC to that big fat contract to let fans know, hey, here is a guy that you can depend on.
Right. And then they
And of course,
went
he's
and
fucking hurt.
decided he was just going to
another lower body
draft a bunch of
Exactly.
Templar and Baylor players.
Yeah, exactly.
bro,
So
that's when I really knew this wasn't serious, bro.
Right, dude, that
When I
was so
started seeing
stupid.
players
Yeah,
come from his old schools,
yeah.
I'm like, he can't be serious right now, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and as I was saying, I know in this short conversation I've disrespected Scott, said we should fire him, then turn around and stood up for him. But my point is, right now I think we're kind of late on the ball for Scott, but a lot depends on how he handles the Brian Burns situation and how this year goes. If we fall flat on our face coming out of the gate and we stay down for, I'd just say 4 or 5 games, then somebody got to pay.
Oh yeah,
fans just start kicking for blood. Then, if you think about it, and I know we hate to think about this, but say we enter the season and we're 0-5, somebody's got to pay, right? Somebody's got to hang out to be dry. And it's going to be Scott Fitterer, because you've already got, just a minute, sir. You've already got a player / GM, Dan Morgan, setting up there. Yeah. You've even got Adrian, I can't remember his name. He was a safety for the Cardinals for years. Look him up, folks.
Adrian Wilson. Gotcha.
Exactly. He was a safety. He was just like Dan Morgan. He was a safety for the Cardinals for years. Then he got in a high up for Arizona. When Arizona turned everything over, they let him walk. They didn't fire him. His contract was up, and they let him walk. They actually offered him a job to be an assistant up there, and he came here instead. So you've already got your GM / assistant GM on staff. But, like I said, it's all up to Scott Fitterer. Yes, sir, JJ. What was your question?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Marty Herney who signed Robbie Anderson. But was it Scott Fitterer who gave him the extension after the first year?
Yes.
All right. That's what I
got a quick question too. This is for the panel. Since we're talking about Fitterer like this, all of this stuff moving up to get a quarterback is definitely necessary. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we needed it. But does it feel like a last-ditch effort for Scott Fitterer to try to get this right before his ass is out the door?
Matt Corral was the latch-ditch effort.
No,
You think so? I can
And
understand that.
and it's
argument,
night and
Kyle.
day different.
I think this. I don't think Fitterer was totally. I think Fitterer wanted to draft a quarterback, but I don't believe he got the one he wanted.
You don't
And I'll
think so?
explain that. No, I'll explain that. What's Washington's quarterback's name?
How?
Sam
Sam
Howell.
Howell.
Sam Howell. I want you to understand this. There's a guy working for the Washington front office that used to work for the Carolina front office during Matt Rule's draft days, or during this time. He now it was largely rumored that half the folks wanted Sam Howell, but the other half wanted Corral.
Yeah.
I think, and just my opinion, the way it all laid out, I believe that Scott Fitterer and some of the front office guys wanted Sam Howell, but because the offensive coordinator and Matt Rule didn't want a rookie quarterback at all, and he damn sure didn't want a rookie quarterback that could show up his veteran quarterback, right?
Yeah.
That would have went against his grain. That would have against his sense of being, Matt Rule's. So if you pick a quarterback that you know 100% fact, or you think that he won't be ready, and when you bring him into camp, you bring a guy who's never played an NFL system, who's played a read option system, something contrary to the NFL, kind of. It's still there, but you still have to run an NFL system with it.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, Matt Rule wasn't ready to start. We all knew that. I think they actually wanted Malik Willis, but he went a few picks before they could get to him. So they settled for Matt Corral. But like I said, I have no proof of that. But if I put out, and I can't remember that dude's name that went to work for Washington, but I just read about him the other day, and I read that and this is on a Washington site, that he was a big supporter of Sam Howell, and he was talking to a member of the media for Washington, and they asked him about it, and he said, "I wanted him in the draft when I worked for Carolina, but the coaches didn't."
Right.
And he said the front office wanted him. And he said, "Well, who all wanted him?" He said, "Well, most of the front office, but the coaches didn't." And the owner sided with the coaches, as he had done before.
Kyle, you said Corral. Why?
So Corral seems like the last dish ever. So like Matt Rule, his seat wasn't like burning when Matt Rule was when Matt Corral was drafted, but it was getting a little warm. You know what I mean? And like you don't trade up to get one of the last like second or third tier quarterbacks in the draft if you're not feeling just a little bit of pressure. And I think that he drafted Matt Corral as like kind of like a safety valve almost. So just in case, Darnold didn't work out, that he would have that backup, and obviously when he broke his foot and everything that kind of went out the window. But, I feel like that was more of like a last ditch effort. Whereas this moving up to number 1 to get Bryce just seems like, you know what? This is a whole new staff. This is a whole new 2023 is a brand new year for the Carolina Panthers. And you know what? I think if we are going to have a serious run at this, we should do it the way that most teams do it. And that is go up and get the quarterback that you want. And that even if there wasn't a consensus on which one that they liked, they all kind of understood that the quarterback that they liked was up towards the top of 5 of the picks. So it made the most sense to go all the way to the top. That way you can have the internal argument about who you want and not who you can get. So it doesn't seem like panic mode in that sense. It seems very justified, very step by step. This is how we're going to build this team to be in contention year after year.
That's a great
Yeah,
answer.
and it is, and one of the things I feel like we're leaving out of this conversation is this was David Tepper's first hire of a GM was Scott Fitterer. Um, yeah, his first hire as a coach was Matt Rule. His second one was Frank Reich. And look at the staff that Frank Reich was able to put together. So if Tepper was to go back tomorrow and say, well, I need an NFL GM, he would probably make a better choice than he did the first time. We got to cut Tepper a
Let's
little bit
hope.
of slack on this. It's not like
He's getting
Fitterer's
better.
the worst it's not like he's the worst GM ever. But man, he's made some big mistakes, and we've done our job as fans and made sure we pointed out those mistakes. And there's plenty of them, especially with these late round draft picks. But I think if he does fail, if the Panthers really do have a bad season, Scott Fitterer really could be in trouble. But I feel like the next GM will be a big improvement over the first one from David Tepper. Don't you guys agree with that?
Totally,
Yes.
100%.
He's heading in
'Cause,
the
I
right
mean-
direction with everything else, so I couldn't see why that wouldn't be correct as well. So yeah, you're
Right,
definitely right,
and
brother.
Frank is definitely at least 2 to 3 times the coach that Matt Rule is. So, like, that would lead me to believe that by that track record, this new GM, potentially would be, that same 2 to 3 times more experienced, better at drafting.
Frank got here and he was like, hey, yo, Scott. Yo, these guys are garbage.
Oh, this is gonna be an
Like,
a
we
complete
gotta
utter
cut them
overhaul.
all. He was like, Scott, we gotta cut half these guys.
The one thing, if I can say that I like that I can see is we do have a good staff here. We do. We have some. We are actually built right now. We are built the way Tepper, when he first bought the team, he said he wanted to build it.
Yeah.
Because if we can hold on to these folks for longer than 1 year, and a half and half season would actually help that.
Yeah.
It would.
Because if we come out of the gate hot and we start winning, we're going to lose some of these coordinators real quick.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we're going to keep him. And my notion is, let's just say in 2 or 3 years, we've turned the team around. We're having wins left and right. They're going to look and they're going to say, Adrian Wilson's up there in Carolina. He's a director of player personnel. Let's give him a call for an upcoming GM job.
Yep.
And Dan Morgan's up there too. Let's just interview them both. Let's go up there and interview them both while we at it. Then they go up there and interview, and all of a sudden, Thomas Brown, how about if you enter us for our head coach job?
Yeah.
Then we walk away and we lose an assistant GM and a coordinator to a head coach job. But we get if they're minorities, we get 2 third-round picks apiece for that.
So let me ask you this, Pickle, while we're on the subject of rolling coaches. How many years do you think Frank sticks around as head coach? And to add to that, if it's a short amount of time, do you think Ivero stays to have that continuity with the team so that he could be elevated into that position?
I don't. First of all, even if we win the division and make the playoffs, I don't think Ivero leaves as a head coach. I think he turns it down. First off, I think he turns it down. I think he interviews, but I think he turns it down because number one, he likes what he's doing here, and I don't think that he's. I don't know. I want to say I don't think he's ready. I think he turns it down, but maybe I'm wrong on that part. I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't be too surprised.
I may be wrong on that. But I don't think. I think Scott stays here until he's fired. I really do because this is his home. You notice when he got fired for Minneapolis, what's the first thing he told him he was going to do?
Yeah.
He said he was going to go home. And they asked him where. And he said, I'm going to Carolinas. That's my home. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to chill and I'm going to relax. And that's what he did. And he doesn't live too far from the stadium now. And when he got the job here, all his kids cried and loved it because, daddy's going home. And you got to understand, and I know if sometimes you may not, but when you get older, sometimes you just want to go home.
I get it.
And that's why I think if he's gone, I think it won't be by his choosing. But at the same time, um, if he's fired, I think we have to look bad for him to fire. I don't think Temple's just going to fire him to replace him.
Oh yeah, for sure. We have to
Because
have a
yeah,
couple of 5 and 4
exactly.
win
So
seasons.
so what I think the design is for is for have that effect where you can just roll him out. Yeah, even let's say Frank gets here and after 5 or 6 years he decides he wants to hang it up. I think there's enough staff here now. I think the design is if we lose Thomas Brown, if we lose Avero, there's somebody behind him. Now, I'm not all that familiar with the defensive coaches. I don't think there's a future defensive coordinator that runs a 3-4 behind Avero. I really don't think that. I may be wrong. Y'all can check the coaches out on that. But I do think that I know the offensive side of the ball has a lot of folks who want to be a coach. They just do. For example, you have your offensive coordinator and your running back coach. Your running back coach is classified as your assistant head coach, not your offensive coordinator. So, but at the same time, what's going to hurt Thomas Brown? Thomas Brown's never really called plays
That's what
for a
I was
full
about to
season.
say. Frank
So
Reich's going to be calling plays, so that might help
exactly.
us in the long term for keeping him.
Yeah, so if say, Frank said earlier he'll do it for a little while and then he'll let Thomas. If he does it for the first half of the season or through the bye, then he turns it over to Thomas. Some of these owners ain't gonna hire Thomas Brown because he hasn't called plays for a full season.
Yeah.
So and they'll use the Eric Bieniemy excuse. Well, he was just running Frank's offense. So that being said, give it a couple years, and I think Thomas Brown will have a head coach job somewhere.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, whether people like it or not, the Thomas Brown's biggest negativity wanting a head coach of an NFL team is to be honest, is because he's black. Because these NFL owners don't like to hire a black man to be a head coach. They just don't, and it's unfair, but it's the truth.
It's the truth, and it's
truth.
disparaging.
It's a pain to put it that way sometimes, but
it
is what it is.
it is, and fellas shouldn't have to put it that way, but it is what it is. So,
I tell you what, though, to shift this topic, I got a question for y'all. I'm not saying who's gonna be the biggest impact, but I guess who like, because we know the guys who are gonna step up, but who outside of the ordinary do you want to step up to the plate this season? Like last year, Frankie Louvu really took another step. Is there someone y'all have in mind that can maybe take that next step?
Barno.
I know. Yes, thank you, Kyle. Tell him about Barno. Tell him.
Specifically Barno because, and I may be just biased, but I know what they said in the I know what Coach Frank said in the interview when he was talking about how much playtime Justin Houston was going to get. So like they're going to be rotating people behind him, and to me, I need Amari Barno to be the next, Frankie Louvu, step up and make that kind of disruption because it's going to be asked of him to do that. And if he's not in a position to do those things, he's going to look really bad. Just like how we all rag on YGM because he can't get to the quarterback. He's going to look the same way if he does not step his production up. So I'm looking for him to have a big year.
Maybe it's just this game, but I'm really Man, I really hope Shaq Thompson lay some law this year, cause he's got a lot of doubters from Panthers fans.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's been very just consistently mediocre to say the least,
Not last year.
and he's had a few plays. He's played. It feels like he's played a little better football over the last 2 years after
Yes.
changing his number. But
Yeah.
man, sometimes like people are they get a little bit better with their age. Like I look at guys like Cameron Hayward. For the first like 8 years of his career, he was good, but he's made like once he got into his later years here recently, he's taken up an even notch. So
Mm-hmm.
I really hope Shaq Thompson can really take it to a gear that we've yet to see. Get some better football. And I'm not saying he got to be amazing, but I really
Right.
hope he's like a player where coming out of games we're like, man, we're glad we did keep Shaq on that pay cut or whatever. We're just
Yeah.
having moments where we're saying we're glad Shaq's on the team for real.
Right.
One thing.
JJ, I have a very interesting answer for you, but you're gonna laugh at me. I feel like everybody's gonna laugh at me with my
Nah, you're
answer right
good.
now. My answer for this is going to be CJ Henderson, and I never thought I would say that, but I really do believe that he needs to step up and be, I'm not even going to say the type of player where he was drafted at, but just be a top tier player like you were out of college and just be
Mm-hmm.
serviceable and play that inside or the third cornerback or wherever the Panthers need you to line up at. I didn't think he would be capable of it, man, but I got faith in him. I'm not ready to give up on him yet. I got a feeling. I don't know what it is.
I'm not gonna lie.
Um,
If it was up to me, he would be starting over Dante Jackson.
That ain't the first
Just
time you've said
because.
that either.
Yeah, because I really, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think CJ Henderson is as bad as he's played. He's shown, like, it feels like as many times as he's shown bad plays, he's shown, like, the consistency of being, like, at least a good corner. I'm not saying great, but at least
Just be a good
a
corner.
good
That's all I
starter,
want.
Like a good, solid reliable number two at times. He's shown that before. He's shown the ability to make some plays at times. But I mean, like he's had Matt Rule. He went from Urban Meyer to Matt Rule, and he had Steve Wilkes. Okay, we had Steve Wilkes, but like his whole scheme was soft coverage, which was very easily to get beat on once he's out of position, and it's just hopefully this defensive coordinator can put him in the best position to make plays, but maybe he isn't as good as I thought or maybe I thought he could be.
Right.
He
I,
could just be who he's shown us to be. But yeah,
I,
I'm
I,
not gonna lie, I do like CJ sometimes.
I think CJ's played a lot better since we hired Scott Hall to be the DB coach, the assistant DB coach. Scott Hall. That don't sound right.
He's also in
Don't
a
sound.
contract year, which I
Yeah,
said a few
yeah.
times throughout
D'Angelo
the
Hall.
offseason that
D'Angelo. Oh
hopefully
D'Angelo
yeah,
Hall.
forgot about
Yes,
that.
yeah.
That's a
Scott
boy.
Scott
him,
Hall's a wrestler,
YGM,
or used to be a
and
wrestler, but
R.I.P. Razor.
Removal.
yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah.
guys in their because we got 4 starters on the defense in a contract. Well, 5
Right,
if you include Burns in
right,
a
Mhm.
right.
contract year, and it's like CJ Henderson's going to be playing for his career. YGM's going to be
He
playing for
is.
his career. It
So
doesn't
is
seem
he.
like YGM wants a career, but I felt like hopefully one of them, a few of them guys will take another step because they're
Yeah.
playing for that big payday and we can get some better. That was one of the few things I looked at on this team and thought, okay, maybe we could win 9 games because of that, because someone comes out here and they're playing for that. They're just playing out of their mind and they have a breakout. We got guys playing for their careers and could really take it to that next level because of that. But um we'll
Right.
see. I'm excited to
Yeah.
see, honestly.
Me too.
If I may say, I believe Shaq Thompson suffers from the post Luke Kuechly
He
effect.
does terribly pick him.
And Panther fans, including myself,
I've been guilty of it. Everybody
have guilty
has.
of that because we saw how great Dan Morgan was. Myself, I spoke about myself and Cole. We saw how great Dan Morgan was, and then we saw John Beeson replace him almost identical. Then
Yep.
we saw Luke come in and replace him, and we were so used to having elite linebackers, elite
Right.
stud linebackers, and then through through remarkable, people don't realize this, through all three of them, Thomas Davis was there. Thomas Davis wasn't a full-time starting linebacker until Luke. He came until
It was close to that though.
Beeson and Luke.
Yep.
Helped promote Tom Davis to a full-time outside linebacker role. Okay, and Luke was so famous for making sure everybody lined up in the right position because he knew what the offense was playing. That it actually, by the time TD left, and by the time Luke retired, Shaq Thompson was like, "All right, this is our next Luke." What the fuck? This ain't Luke's. This ain't even Thomas Davis. And we were so spoiled having elite linebacker play, we didn't know what average linebacker play was.
Yeah,
and
that's my favorite.
Shaq's been giving us average linebacker play, and we expected elite because that's what we're so used to being.
I'm not gonna lie. When I go back and look at some Panthers games from just like even just in 2018, 2019, and 2017, the last 3 years, let alone Luke Kuechly's real prime, it's so funny sometimes just like seeing how many times he just freaks out and he's just pointing everyone everywhere and go here and this and just how often it was. It was truly funny as fuck to watch sometimes.
I used to laugh, and I still commented this. Times you'd see Luke grab a big old defensive lineman and literally pick his ass up and put him in a different spot, and you line up over here. And the coordinators were like, "All right, you got it, man. You do what you do." They wasn't saying a word. At times he'd grab Thomas Davis and drag him on the other side of the offensive line, or the line, and say, "You stand here." And TDs just do it. You did what Luke told you to do, and that you don't get him no better. You just don't get him no better.
When Luke Kuechly was doing that shit, the coaches at some point in time said, "Luke, you are guessing this right so much and so often. You have got to stop being so obvious with it because the offense is audible because they know that you know exactly what we're doing every time."
And
you've never heard of another play in history like that.
I always thought it was so cool to hear elite guys like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, elite guys, quarterbacks say, "We got to look out for Luke." And they would scheme against Luke. We're talking Tom Brady would scheme solely not to throw the ball near Luke or make sure you ran a play to confuse Luke Kuechly because he'd get you. And Luke Kuechly was our version of Reed, who played for the Ravens for years.
Ed Reed.
He was our version of that, because he was everywhere and he did everything. That being said, though, too, since we hired D'Angelo Hall, I think that I really think that C.J. Henderson looks better. I also think that C.J. Henderson looked a lot better when we had Gilmore here, and I think C.J. Henderson likes having a veteran, what I want to say, an all-pro veteran DB he can rely on for advice and game footage and stuff like that. And I think Hall has kind of taken that place where he lost when we sent Gilmore packing, because JC's a rookie and Jackson just ain't it, and ain't nobody else worth a shit. So, that's just how that is.
It's truly heartbreaking we never got to see the duo of JC and Gilmore for real.
You're right. Now, the guy I'm going to claim is the guy that gets very little respect from half of the fan base. I want to see Brady Christensen become an elite guard. I like to see him get so good that he goes at least to the Pro Bowl this year as a guard, just so I can get several people to shut up, because the man ain't done nothing to be benched, but they want
you know how good he got to be.
I'm one of them.
For
I'm
a
sorry.
Panthers lineman to get up in.
I know
and like Icky was like the 6th overall pick. Okay, people remember him. for Brady Christensen at left guard to be like the Pro Bowl or an All Pro,
Yep.
he gonna have to be
Yep.
like
You're right. You're right. But I
legit.
mean, and
That would be
in
great.
reality, that probably won't happen.
I would love that.
But yeah,
Right.
I would like to see him at least get the respect that he should get.
And Icky's an All Pro left tackle
Yeah.
too. That's what I would
Exactly.
love.
Yeah. Because Icky and you know, I'm sorry, folks. I seen Panther Hall of Famer Jordan Gross have bad games. I've seen him one time allow 4 sacks in a preseason game, and he was looking so bad. John Fox walked over to him and grabbed him by the jersey and said, "Nope, let's go over here and sit down." And Julius Pepper sat over beside him, gave him a hug, and laughing at him because it was just funny. But that wasn't Jordan Gross, but it was. but
Yeah, I got
you
real
know,
high
and
hopes
people are
for
like, "What
Icky.
is he old now? Did he lose his shit?" Well, come regular season, he was good as gold. So
Icky was honestly probably our worst lineman last year, considering in terms of pass protection.
right.
Or maybe it was Brady Christensen or not.
Yeah,
Taylor
Bozeman.
Moten didn't do so well
Bozeman.
either.
I will say
Bozeman,
Iggy was probably the most penalized.
Bozeman was rated the worst in pass protection.
Yeah, I
Brady
remember
Christensen
Icky
was
just
rated the best in pass protection,
yeah.
but he came from a offensive college where you pass blocked all the time. So
Yeah. Well, about an hour and 15 minutes. You guys got anything else you really want to talk about?
I'm all good. That was a great show, but I appreciate you
good.
having me.
Hell yeah. Well, anybody, let them know where to find you.
will do.
All right. So we're all on Twitter. See Pickle's name there. And
704 Charlotte bound. No, I'm joking.
I invited Swan and he didn't show up.
Yeah, no,
They're doing a show.
He's got a show.
They're doing
today.
they're doing a show right now.
Oh, I got you. I got you. All right. Well, I appreciate all y'all, and hopefully
absolutely.
y'all
Appreciate
see y'all
it.
next week. And
All right,
thanks everyone for
Later on,
joining
Cobb.
the midweek meltdown. Have a good day, guys.